is Sophie Lawson from sophielawson.com, and this is another video about Inktober 2018, and it's going to cover days 20 to 26. And I'm going to do what I normally do, which is just flick through my sketchbook, looking at all the little drawings I did. And this week I did 7 video game characters and 7 lilSOPHIEs based off of Inspirational Models. And I've put a little blog post which I'll link in the show notes, so you can see, because it links to all the models if you want to find out more about them. And I'm also going to talk about some things like that I didn't get time to write about in the blog post. So I'll talk about like how things I've learnt this week, like how fine liners don't last very long, brush pens, talking about brush pens, talking about texture, talking about ink sketching, because I said last week I was going to try and sketch the lilSOPHIEs with just ink instead of pencils. So I'll talk about that a little bit. I'm also going to talk about chisel tips. That sounds funny, chisel tips, because I started using chisel tips. Talking about being mindful of the direction when doing realistic hair. And what else is there? One of the days on Inktober I didn't feel like doing it, but I still showed up. So I'll talk about that, and I'll talk about inconsistencies with my character lilSOPHIE, because like from day to day she sometimes looks completely different. So I've got to try and work out how to fix that. And I'll talk a little bit about tangents, and I might do a little demo of how I've been doing hair, because I've like found a little tip, a little trick, a little technique, and it kind of works quite well. So I might try and do that. But if we get into the drawings first, so on day 20 I did a lilSOPHIE, and I'll put an image on the screen side by side with the reference photo. So this one was of Inspirational. So this one was of Inspirational Model Miss L'Oreal, and I do like this one. I like the feel of it. I think the pose that she's done is really nice, but I couldn't get lilSOPHIE's head. I didn't really know how to get the direction of her head. I like the shape of the hair, but I think her legs, this is like one of the inconsistency things. Her legs are a bit too fat, I think. But I do quite like that one. And then the next one for day 20 was Faith from Mirror's Edge, and again I quite like that one. This is the original Faith, because I did play both the games, but I think the original Mirror's Edge is actually, I prefer it, because the second one's open world. I think it kind of lost a bit. The next day, which was day 21, the lilSOPHIE was of Starfucked, and I'll put links to all of this in the description. And this one, I really like the hair, and I was trying to work out, because I wanted to do the lace, but because it was going to be black, I wanted it to not blend in with the hair, which was also black. So I left like a little white line around her body, which I did it there as well. I think it works. It just makes it pop a bit. So I quite like that. And what I started doing this week was changing the poses, which I quite enjoyed. Instead of being really strict with the poses, I started changing them a bit, and that was quite fun. And then the next day, which was this was days 21. This is Lara Croft. Again, it's a classic Lara, because I think, I don't know, I have a soft spot for classic Lara. And that was fun. I do like drawing video game characters. You can see where I've gone too dark with the pencils here. I can't erase it. And next one, which was day 22, the lilSOPHIE is based off of Kirsty Mooney. And I love Kirsty. I love the poses. She's got this real, just nice gentleness about her, really. And I tried to capture that in the lilSOPHIE, but I did something wrong with this one. And this is where I realised that I wasn't studying the reference close enough, because on the reference photo, that leg is in front of that leg, but I drew that leg in front, and I think that I think that loses a bit now because her leg being because her leg is in front of that leg, it makes that leg there curvy, and I think that curvy line would have been quite nice in this one. So that was a little mistake, but I kind of like that one. And then the next day, which was day 22, oh no, it's the same one. This is Kasumi from Dead or Alive 5, and I don't like the face on this one. I kind of messed it up a bit. I think because it's getting close to Halloween, this could be a zombie Kasumi. I still enjoyed doing it. And Kasumi is one of my favourite video game characters. I love Dead or Alive. So I would like to try and do that one again. And then day 23, lilSOPHIE was based off of Miranda Kerr. Again, another one of my favourite inspirational models. And I like that one as well. What I did on some of these was I didn't colour in the clothes because I kind of like having the hair be dark and lilSOPHIE not having much colour because I like the contrast of it, and I like the hair as well. What I started doing with the hair is I started colouring in the back bit with a brush pen because it gives a nice smooth finish, but then the hair that's in front, I did the texture with the little fine liner, and then I could put the brush pen on top, but it would keep the texture, and it kind of looked quite good, I think. And I'll try and show that in a minute in the video. But I like this one, and again I changed the pose a little bit. It looks like she's going. It looks like she just farted or something. That's funny. But I like that one. And then the day 23 video game was Yuna from Final Fantasy VII. Again, I struggled with her face a bit because it's such a small drawing. It's really hard for me to work out how to get the details on the face. That's why I like doing the animals last week, because I didn't have to do that. But that was fun, that one. That was a fun one. And then the next day, which was day 24, I was looking forward to doing this one all week. And it's Amy Thunderbolt, who is, I'll probably say, my favourite inspirational model. She's such a nice person. She's on Instagram and stuff, and she just seemed really nice, and like she seems like she's always having fun, and you can sort of see that in the photo. She's just like a normal girl having fun, but I love her poses and I love everything she does, really. It's cool, and I enjoyed doing that one. I like doing the ears, but again I messed up the arm, I think, because on the photo the arm sort of goes like that and like that, but I've done it like that, and I think if it had gone like that and like that, it might have made it a bit better. But that's the thing with inks, once you've done it you can't change it. So and then the next one for 24 was, the video game was Cat from Gravity Rush. Again, another one of my favourite video games, and I enjoyed doing that one as well. I like doing the little cat. That was fun, that one. I do like Gravity Rush. And the one for day 25 was a lilSOPHIE based off Diana Quank, and she's only recently been added to my inspirational models, but I love her poses as well. And she's, if you look at her photos, the look in her eye is, there's something about her. I find her really mesmerising, and I enjoy doing this lilSOPHIE. And this is one of the ones where, when I did the ink sketch, I'll show you the ink sketch, because what I was doing was I was doing ink sketches really quickly, and I'll show them in a minute. But when I did this one, because I was going really quickly, I suddenly realised that the hair looked like a heart, and then I thought I might try and do that in the proper drawing. So that's what I tried to do, was put the hair as a heart, and I thought it looked quite nice. And I like the sort of feel of her arms coming together. That's what's in the photo, I like that. And then the day 25 video game was Prinny from Disgaea. He is a funny dude. Funny dude. I enjoyed doing him. There was this one was, the good thing about doing characters like this is there's not as much pressure because the details are much bigger, so it's a little bit easier. Because doing like these ones, it's quite stressful doing the face, because you know if you mess up you can't do nothing. But these are a bit easier. But I liked him. I thought he was quite funny. And then day 26, which was today, I just finished this one. It is of Inspirational Model Yasmin Petty. And with all these models, I could have picked so many different photos because they've all got such amazing poses and like attitude. And I was trying to capture that in the lilSOPHIEs. And this is another one where I sort of exaggerated her hair. And in the ink sketch, I had her hair going to the left, but I decided to put it to the right, and I'm not sure which one I prefer. I think maybe the other way was a bit better, but I like this one, and I changed it a little bit by making her arm go around her knee, because on the photo she's touching the sofa. But I thought it was quite fun to put her hand going around her knee. And I really like this one. And you can see with the hair, I might show a little example now, because if you look at the back hair, which is done with the brush pen, there's no texture to it. And what I did, and then because of the hair at the front has got texture, it means that the hair at the front looks like it's in front of the hair at the back. And I was trying to work out how to do that for ages, and then I thought, if I make the front bit have texture, it might make it pop. So what I was doing was, I'll just try and show it, because it takes a bit of time, but it kind of works quite nice, I think. So all you do is you just, with the little one, which is a 0.1 fine liner, I do that to get like the texture. And I do that, and I do this for like, I don't know, say 5 minutes. Just keep doing this over and over. And then at some point I move up to a 0.5, and I do a little bit like that. And then I just keep going back and forth with the little one, so that until I get a nice blend. And then once I'm happy with that, I get the brush pen, and I, following the same direction, do it like that. But because the little fine liner has got it imprints the paper. It like puts lines in the paper, like actual physical lines. So when you go on top of it with the brush pen, the texture still shows through, but it means you can get a nice dark black without, while still having texture. And it takes a bit of time because you have to really build it up slowly, but I think it looks quite nice. And I'm kind of copying what I've been doing with realistic pencil drawings, which is doing it slowly in layers. So that was quite fun, I thought. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put on the screen a side by side of all of the drawings with the little ink sketches, because I put them all on the blog all together. They're there, but I thought I would talk about them each individually on the video. So because what I did was I was going to have it so that these ink sketches were going to be the finished drawing, but on the day 20, which was the first day I tried it, because the reason I was doing it was last week I said that I lost a lot of energy in the ink drawings, and I was trying to get some energy back into my inks. So I thought if I just sketch with the ink pen instead of the pencils, I thought that might help. But what happened was it was really messy. I knew it was going to be messy, but it was a lot more messy. And so at first I thought I'm not even going to do this anymore because it was so messy. But the next day I tried it again, and whilst it is still messy, I kept doing it, and I feel like I'm really happy that I kept doing it, because I did this at the very start before I did any other drawings, and it was just a nice way to loosen up. And like I said, because you're not worried about what you're doing, you just end up getting nice shapes. And then those nice shapes, you sort of remember them, and when you do the proper ink drawing later, you try to get those shapes back into the finished drawing. Whereas if you were going straight into the inks, you wouldn't maybe find these nice shapes because you're thinking too much about doing the inks. And that's another one where the hair was going the other way. But I'll put them all on the screen, and then I'll talk about, because I've got them all here, I'll talk about what I think of each one. So day 20 was Miss L'Oreal, and I think the ink one has got more motion to it, but what I noticed was because I'm still learning how to draw lilSOPHIE, I keep like forgetting that what her proportions are like, and so in the ink sketch, her proportions are a bit too much like Miss L'Oreal and not like lilSOPHIE, and then that carried over into the ink drawing. So that I tried to remember that for the next one, but that one was to me a bit too messy and I didn't really like it. And then the next one, which day 21, was Starfact, and again this one was also really messy, but this is when I started thinking this might be quite helpful. And I think what I was thinking was, if in the future, if I keep doing this, the reason they're messy is because I'm putting too many lines down. So if I can somehow learn to only sketch the lines that are important, I feel like it might be possible to get like the energy back into the inks and not have them be so messy. So I'm going to keep practicing this, because I think it might be good in the end. But that was day 21, it was still very messy. And then day 22, which was Kirsty Mooney, this is the first one where I actually really liked it. And what I like about this one was the shape of the hair and like the feel of the pose. But this was really helpful because when I come to do the finished inks, like I said, I was able to bring things in that I learnt from the ink, and it worked quite well really. And then day 23 was Miranda Kerr. This one, I think the shape of her hair is a lot better in the ink. And what I would like to have done really is taken her hair and wrapped it around from the left over to the right and almost bring it around past her feet, because I think that would have looked quite nice. So that's the inks for day 23. The inks for day 24 with Amy Thunderbolt. Again, this one you can see that that left arm is correct in that it's pointy, and I think it makes it look a bit better, because the finished ink, because of the shape of her left arm, it makes it look a bit like she's getting ready to play snooker, which is quite funny. So I think it loses a bit of the feel of the pose because of that arm. But that ink was quite nice, and I think that one wasn't as messy as the other ones, because I was starting to think a bit more about what I was doing. So I can see it even getting a little bit better with these inks, with like ink sketching. And then day 25, this was one of my favourite ones, and I almost feel like the ink sketch is better than the finished ink drawing, and that's the first time it happened, so that was quite nice. And I like the shape of her hair on that one. I still think the shape of the hair in the ink sketch is better than the shape of the finished ink drawing. Like I said, what I would love to be able to do is get the energy of the ink sketch with the detail of the finished drawing and somehow bring them together. I'm not quite sure how to do that at the minute. And then the final ink sketch was with Yasmin Petty from today. And like I said before, I like the direction of the hair better. But I do like her little arm touching her knee. I think I'm glad I did that in the finished drawing. So that was it really for the ink sketches. That's how lilSOPHIE, I do lilSOPHIE. She starts out with, I normally put the head down, but I always put it in the wrong place. And I feel like I'd be better starting with the body, because I normally end up giving her a neck, too much of a neck. But this is the shape of lilSOPHIE really, it's like a bean. And I saw it in a Proco video, because I bought Proco's figure drawing course, which I'll link to in the description, and I haven't got very far into that course because I kind of concentrated on gesture drawings and I didn't do much about the structure, but I did learn about the bean, so I've always remembered that. And basically it's the bean and the round head, and that's pretty much what lilSOPHIE is really. She's just a bean. So that's the main things about this week. I'll quickly talk about some of the topics that I put on the blog post. And the first thing was that fine liners don't last very long, especially these little ones, which are 0.1. I've only done 26 days of drawing, so I've done 52 drawings, and both of these fine liners are now getting, like, they're losing their ink, and they're both 0.1. So I'm going to have to buy some more of these. I might have to buy another one before Inktober finishes. So I thought that they would last longer than that. So that I've noticed that this week. I spoke about the brush pens, how they're really good for covering large areas and not having any texture. So this week's been very fun to play around with these different types of tips. And the chisel tip, which is that one there, that's been really good for ink sketching, because you get the fat. If you go that way you get a fat line, if you go that way you get a thin one, and it's just been quite fun for the ink sketching because it's still firm, which I like, because if I tried doing it with a brush pen but it was too soft. So I think the chisel tip is good for ink sketching and the brush pen is good for large areas. So it's been fun experimenting with those. I spoke about the realistic hair, and that's it really. Oh, there's something else, there's this book by Bert Dodgson called Keys to Drawing, and it's the first book that I ever learnt from, and I love that book. And something he spoke about was something called tangents. And what tangents is he says you want to try and avoid tangents. So for instance, a tangent on this drawing would be, say if that line there of the hair intersected with the elbow, it would look weird, because it would look like the elbow, or the shoulder, it would look like the shoulder is part of the hair. And I've been very mindful of that this week, so a couple of times the lines were going to overlap and I was able to move them slightly, and I've never really been aware of tangents before, so it was quite nice to notice that. I can't really find any examples, but yeah, tangents. So it's been quite fun learning about, it's been quite fun to realise that things you learnt years ago, even though you didn't realise it, they are still in your head, and that's been quite fun. So I think that's it really for this week. It's been a really fun week and I've learnt a lot, and now there's only 5 days left, which is weird because it feels like Inktober's only just started. But it's nearly over already, so next week's video will be the last Inktober one, and it's going to be 5 days of lilSOPHIE's cosplaying video game characters, which I can't wait to do. That's going to be fun, because it's going to be combining video game characters with lilSOPHIE, so that should be fun. And I'm going to do 5 of these, more detailed drawings, but I'm going to do 5 anime characters, which again I'm really excited for. So that's the next 5 days, and I shall see you next week for another video. Hope you enjoyed it, and see you later.